Good afternoon, friends. Stephen and Yana Benoon with Israeli News Live, and today we're joined with Daryl Perritt, and he was one of the activists that have been speaking out in Florida to repeal Florida's, which
Free
always,
kill,
yeah, the
free
free
kill
kill
law,
law,
which actually is
seven six
sti-
eight point
20
two one.
subsection 8.
Subsection 8, yes, because the
Yes.
thing is, it's the most unfair, inhumane, uh, unconstitutional laws there has ever been. But we came down, we've been following this. Daryl Perritt has been on with us here. Well, he's been on Israeli News Live. He may not know it, but we've actually played him before for you guys already. So you know his son, Cameron Perritt, 33 years old, died in a hospital. Very tragic death for Daryl and his wife Susan, and so our hearts really sincerely go out to them. But there was one person, one senator, Senator Harrell, who was really causing a lot of havoc, and yet every committee, this is for the first time in 35 years, the bill has been passing. But this one senator wanted to really cause it to where it wouldn't even go to a vote. And Daryl got the courage up to put a billboard up, but not before warning Senator Harrell that she could avoid this altogether. And now they're trying to make it look like that the true victims, which are the families that have lost loved ones, they're trying to make it look like they're the villains in this case. And now Senator Harrell becomes the victim. What a disgrace. Daryl, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your son? What happened to your son? And of course, I met you personally uh, in a Florida Capitol. We belong to a group of activists to repeal the inhumane, barbaric free kill law 768.21, subsection 8. And we have been fighting this now for several months. And for you, this is a very new case. Your son died just last year. So, can you talk a little bit about what happened to your beautiful son, and why are you basically aggressively trying to help to repeal this barbaric law?
Well, I am trying to find out why my son Cameron is dead. He called me on Sunday night in pain, screaming, agony. I rushed him to the emergency room. He told them that he had a history of blood clots. He told them where the pain was coming from. They did some examination. The pain subsided, and they sent him home. They sent us home. The following morning, we rushed him back in. He was in agony again, even worse. They examined him. They gave him an examination. They weren't sure what it was, although now we've looked into it, and the physical exam they gave indicated that he had an internal injury. Mm-hmm. He told them that the pain was coming from his chest. He told them that he had a history of blood clots. He put his finger exactly where the pain was coming from, and they admitted him, but did nothing really else. He basically had a blood clot exactly where he put his finger, and they did nothing about it for 3 days. Mm-hmm. On the third day in the morning, they said he was too weak for surgery. However, that afternoon, they told us that they were rushing him into surgery. He was certainly no stronger. And what we know now, that he did have a blood clot exactly where he put his finger on Sunday night. And he effectively died over a 4-day period in their care from exactly what he told them it was and where it was.
Yes.
After the surgery, they came out and said it was too late. His internal organs had been without oxygen for 3 days. And over the next 12 hours, I held his hand while he slowly passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear this. And it's just really sad story of.
So his mother asked why they waited so long.
Mm-hmm.
And the surgeon said, I don't know. They called me at 2:00 today. So they
Wow.
waited nearly 3 days to call a surgeon. Those words by the surgeon were the last words that I have received from the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I have got no explanation. I have got no diagnosis, and I have gotten no reason for my son's death. So I have one question, and that is, why is he dead?
And what happened, Daryl?
Florida's free kill law
Yes.
prevents me from requiring them to answer that question.
Yes.
I cannot hold them accountable in any way, shape, or form because of this law.
Yes.
I am not trying to sue for money. I don't need money. I need answers.
You need accountability. You need accountability.
Correct.
Right.
I just,
yes. You need closure, and that cannot come without justice.
They talk about closure. I don't think I will ever. I think that's
right.
Something somebody says. Some psychologist came up with closure. There's never going to be closure.
I understand.
This is an open wound in my heart that will never heal.
Yes. Yes.
But I do need to know why. And I do want the law changed so no one else will have to feel or have this wound.
Yes. Daryl, tell us, so after your son died and you had no answers, you tried going to lawyers because you were unaware of Florida free kill law, right? It was a sneaky little secret in there.
Yeah, I was completely unaware.
Yeah.
It seems absolutely strange.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to 3 different major law firms,
yes,
significant law firms, and they all said that they could not help me.
Did they explain to you free kill law? That was the reason, or they first didn't even
well, they told me that they could not file any claim because they were aware that this law existed.
Okay.
For Cameron, because him not having any dependents. He was not married and had no children.
Right.
So because he was not married and had no children, he was treated differently than any other patient who did have dependents.
Right.
Which I find rather offensive,
mm-hmm.
because Cameron had worked with me in our barbecue smokehouse since the age of 15.
Yes.
I had depended on him and he had depended on me for the last 18 years. The idea that I can't hold the medical establishment accountable because he had no dependents seems completely, I just don't understand. I don't.
There are no words.
My definition of dependent and their definition of a dependent appear to be completely 2 different things.
Yes, well, we don't love our children less because they're over the age of 25. Or we don't depend on them less because they are not 24, but they're 25 or 5 or older. Okay, so I know the pain you have because I have same situation over my father. Okay.
Exactly.
So we met,
Exactly.
yes, because my father was widowed and because he had no dependents, yet he lived
Right.
with us
Right.
for 29 years,
Yes.
you know,
You
in one
depend.
household. Yes.
The idea that you did not depend on your father, or your father didn't depend on you, is an obscene statement.
Yes. And
It's
so
just
people need to know that this is a dirty little secret in Florida legislature. That's a Florida law, dubbed free kill law, where doctors can harm you with negligence or medical murder and will have zero accountability. You will have absolutely no answers. They're not responsible to you in any way. And there is no recourse for the grieving family. So we
Correct.
found this out when my father died. He was handed to me dead in a hotel room with no explanation. Okay, two doctors cared for him there. But I have joined the activists in Florida, several activists, and one of them is Daryl. I met him in the Capitol while we were speaking in House meetings and in Senate meetings. And there were bills introduced this year in House and in Senate to repeal the Florida's free kill law. And I heard Daryl's story, very sad story. And I personally witnessed when they stopped him in the middle and he couldn't even finish speaking his story. They give us 3 minutes to approach the House or the Senate representatives. But they even stopped him from that.
They give Daryl
I didn't-
maybe a minute and a half.
Yes.
They didn't give me 3 minutes. They
No.
gave some guy talking about his wife and her job before me, 20 minutes before me. They gave him several minutes. Had nothing to do with the law. I don't know what the guy was talking about.
Yes.
But I got
right.
there to tell him my story and to tell him Cameron's story, and they cut me off and sent me home.
Yes. Yes.
It was a very difficult day.
Yes. I remember looking at you and the pain in your soul came through. And I felt it in my soul. I felt your pain in my soul. And my husband played it for people at the time.
Yes.
And but you
We
did.
showed them how
Right.
they just cut you off right in the middle of the sentence. And yet clearly they were giving all these lobbyists who, if they were in the position that you are, or we are, or ourselves, or the other activists that have been standing there, and even the people that have not been able to make it any longer, maybe they would think differently. But because the shoe's not on the other foot, they feel they can just trample on the constitutional rights of not just Floridians, but every single person that visits the state of Florida. In fact, that the malpractice that was done on a person visiting Florida to Panama City, where they took out his liver instead of his spleen and killed a guy. Now, of course, he didn't fall in that category, so we did hear about it.
He had a wife. But what if he didn't have a wife? He was just a visitor on a vacation in Florida. So if you ever visit Florida for vacation, we have beaches, we have Disney right over there in Florida. So if you are a visitor and you have no dependents, you are over age of 25, and you have no spouse, and something happens to you in that state, you go to hospital and they kill you, your loved ones cannot find justice, cannot even get a day in a court.
Right.
And this is just
even though
one
there's
state.
36 billion in tax revenue from tourism alone.
Yes.
Right.
So, Daryl, the reason we brought you in today, because I do want to tell people that the hearings have successfully repealed this law. The House votes repealed this law. And I just came home from Tallahassee. I was there while the Senate was voting on it. And finally, we got the vote, but there was a 2 day of tremendous struggle. And we had one senator,
Yes, Senator Harrell.
Harrell, who was speaking against the repeal of this law very strongly and standing with the lobbyists and insurance groups and basically talking about how the medical insurance or medical malpractice insurance is going to be so high and that good doctors are going to leave the state of Florida and that this is not something that should be repealed. So here she is. You can talk. You can play her a little bit,
Yeah,
Stephen.
I want to play real quick for everyone, Daryl. This was when this was I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and she's talking about instead of being able to have this law repealed, what about the medical board being able to have the 3 strikes and you're out? And that just really irritated me because I'm like, oh, you get to kill 3 people, and then the doctors finally say, but there's no family involvement in that process. Let's listen in to Ms. Harrell, Senator Harrell, and what she says here.
Need of physicians. If this bill passes, we are going to have an increase in medical malpractice. We are already the highest in the country, and it will continue. I am very concerned that when we talk about estranged children, the judge has the ability to preclude any mention of that and say it's not relevant if that's brought up. There's so many things wrong with this bill. If we were really to put accountability in it, empower the Board of Medicine. We have 3 strikes, you're out. Let's empower the Board of Medicine to really make sure.
That's about the most absurd statement I've ever heard. The medical board, 3 strikes and you're out. Do you not realize that this malpractice is not just injuring, but it is the ones that die as a result, 25 or older. If you're not married, you have no.
Okay. Daryl, what do you think about her statements? What do you think?
So you could kill 2 people, 2 Florida citizens, but not 3. After 3, we're going to have to get rid of you. After you kill 3 people, 3 Florida citizens, we're going to have to get rid of you. You know, the entire spin she has on it is just ridiculous. The idea that there's going to be increased medical malpractice. What this law does is it does not prevent medical malpractice. It hides medical malpractice so that it never becomes part of the citizens' awareness of what is going on. As I said, I asked, why did you wait so long? And they have not answered me. So there's a medical malpractice and no one knows about it.
Right. Did you report it to the medical board?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how this process goes? Because I reported my case. It's been 2.5 years. It's confidential and I am not informed about anything.
And they don't ask me. And they can't. And they called me and told me they can only use the documents in the hospital. They can't use the fact that Cameron told them the pain is coming from here.
Yes.
I have blood clot, a history of blood clots. Oh, we can't use that. What do you mean you can't use that? I was standing there when he told you repeatedly that he had a history of blood clots and the pain was right here. How he died from a blood clot right where he did it. He was he diagnosed exactly what the problem was and what needed to take place 3 days before they did. Right. But the Florida Department of Health can't use that information in their deciding of whether there was any medical malpractice.
And Senator Harrell wants us to use only them.
Right.
And where we don't even have a say, when we don't participate in proceedings, when our opinions or our proofs are not even looked at or acknowledged. So this is what happened. I was sitting there 2 days, in the Florida Senate. The very first day, what happened is that Senator Yarborough, who brought this bill, HB 6017 to repeal the Florida freaky law, he suddenly and unexpectedly introduced amendment to put caps of $1 million for all Floridians, regardless whether they are in this category. So that means that any wrongful death claim would result for only capped at $1 million. So what it did, it brought a bad light on us, the activists, because that would hurt all Floridians, okay? So of course, this amendment did not pass, so they TP'd the bill, temporarily postponed it to the next day. Now, keep in mind—
That was strange in itself,
yes,
right?
yes.
It's almost like Senator Yarborough, when he was courageous enough to bring the bill forward, but now he's got to postpone it.
Yeah, and
I mean,
introduce caps.
who's he got to go meet now? Is there this
Yeah.
new game plan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a walk like a duck, talks like a duck thing. There's no way that you got through every single committee, every single house, and we're right here, right at the moment when we're going to do this, and suddenly we're going to add this $1 million cap. Well, the first point I want to make here is politicians deciding the value of Cameron Perritt's life is not ever going to be acceptable to me.
Right.
Amen.
Period.
Yes. So
Politicians do not decide the value of someone else's life. I don't care what price you put on it. It is not your business.
exactly.
The way we decide these things is in a court of law with a jury who airs the information. Politicians deciding the price is absolutely absurd. Just
Yes.
absurd. Doesn't happen in any other thing. They don't decide the price of eggs, but you're going to decide the price of my son's life? That's offensive.
It is.
That's offensive to me.
It's
Okay.
inhumane. It's sneaky. In Florida, of course, the only state out of 50. Okay. But it's unconstitutional because all of us have a constitutional right to access the court system and courts. And they have taken this right from certain groups of people. And they're not telling us. Doctors don't know. People have no idea. Unless you get into that situation, then you find out. And it's a huge surprise. And a soul pain is unexplainable. I am watching doctors that killed my father promote themselves, continue as doctors as if nothing ever happened, while they killed my life. They ruined my life. I cry every day. I ended up with PTSD. I have to pay psychologists to help me to get through the day. My children are suffering. Our life is ruined. But these doctors are practicing and promoting themselves as if nothing happened. And I have no access to courts. So this is why I have joined these activists, people like Daryl and others. Hopefully they will come and speak their stories here. So thank you, Daryl. But let's continue what happened in Tallahassee. The next day after the bill was TP'd, temporarily postponed, finally afternoon, we've been sitting there, these activists, they've been wearing us out. We had to pay all these hotels to stay there, okay? So afternoon, they bring it up and they suddenly pass it clean without amendments, as if nothing happened. But the Senator Harrell stood up and she spoke the words that she's very distraught because there was a billboard put up in her neighborhood against her, bad-mouthing her, describing her, that she puts profit over the people. And this is unacceptable. It's wrong. It's not true. Okay. And we were all looking at each other, Daryl, because we were so shocked by this information. But then all of the senators started speaking about us, our group, as if we were bullies, like we were some criminal group. And they were all protecting Senator Harrell.
Let's play it with your phone. And then what I'll do is I'll edit this in.
Okay, so I don't know if I can quickly
While you look for it.
Okay,
so
then we found out it was you, Daryl, who put up the billboard. And I have texted activists and I said, I am so thankful for that man. God bless him. He's a brave man. I mean, Daryl, I'm telling you here what I believe. They didn't care about our presence there. They were wearing us out. They were introducing amendments without our input, okay? But when you put up that billboard, it was like perfect timing, because what happened was suddenly they passed the bill clean, but they have scolded us as if we were small children doing something very wrong, okay? And that was your billboard that forced them to pass this bill. And I am thanking you from bottom of my heart for your bravery. You have done nothing wrong. You have exercised your First Amendment right. And that billboard was put up by a man who has a deep soul pain. Yeah. And it was an excellent idea. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
And what I don't understand, Daryl, is during their campaigns, when they're running against each other, they all put up billboards, television ads, and everything else condemning this politician and that politician. What is the difference?
Yeah, and she cried, and they were all consoling her. And one senator even went to her and started like doing this to her.
Right. I cry at least once a day.
Yes.
Sometimes all day.
Yes.
The billboard was taken down when they passed the bill. I made a phone call and the billboard was taken down. She had her name on a billboard for 24 hours. I will go to my grave crying for my son.
Yes.
She will be over whatever heartache she had today. She's already over it. She's already forgotten about it. I will never forget about my son, and you will never forget about your father. But to your question, what is the difference? When it's one politician attacking another politician, it's okay. But when it's the people telling the politician, you did wrong, they don't like it.
Right.
And that billboard spoke the truth.
Yes.
I went to the committee meetings. Every single committee meeting, you go look at the tape, Senator Harrell chose profit. Yes. She chose the insurance company. She chose the hospitals. She never once asked a question of anybody who was speaking about the loss of their loved one. Never.
Yeah. So, Daryl, I want to point here something we found out is that there was one person who called her, also a victim, and her aide told to the person that Senator Harrell is sick or tired of the sob stories we are giving her.
Right, right. So who's the bully? Me for telling the truth, or her letting people die in Florida?
Yes. Yep. And taking our constitutional rights to access courts.
Sorry, if you want to be a bully, you want to, and then Senator Yarborough called me a coward. So one day I'm a bully, one day I'm a coward. You know what? I don't care. I'm going to speak the truth.
You're the brave man.
Yes,
and
you
you're
are.
the cause why this even passed. I was, you know what, driving home from Tallahassee 9 hours, I was still processing what happened. And I came to conclusion so clear it hit me. If Daryl wouldn't put up this billboard, this thing would pass with amendments or be killed. You forced them. That forced them to do it. And now
Well,
it's on
now-
Ron DeSantis'
now-
desk.
Right now,
Mhm.
Daryl has already, just like he did with Senator Harrell, he give her notice. If you're going to keep fighting against this billboard's going up. Well, she didn't take any action to do anything but to sit there and stay for all the profit sharing companies that maybe fatten up her campaigns for her.
Yes.
Now, Governor DeSantis, who's been, from what we've heard in the talk that's going on, is threatening to veto this bill.
Mhm.
Now, there is more than enough to override his veto if they even have the courage to do it. But now that they've tried to make a showcase out of Senator Harrell as the victim, when she's not the victims are the families that have lost their loved ones.
The victims are in graves in Florida. That's where the victims
And
are.
around the country, because also people that have visited the state that had to take their loved ones back, they got absolutely no justice either. You may be listening to this somewhere in the United States today and hear it and say, oh my gosh, it happened to our family as well. Well, reach out to us, please.
You know, if you have a grandma, grandpa that you take with your children for Florida Disney vacation for 7 days, and grandma is widowed, but you take her along and something happens to that grandma, she goes to hospital and they do medical negligence or medical murder, even worse. Okay, that happened to me. I have a medical murder case, but it still fell into this law, the free kill law. But so basically, your grandma, you will never get any justice for your grandma you took for a vacation. Okay, that's for people outside Florida. Or worse yet, listen to this. So many people from United States are sending their children to study in Florida universities. Now you might have a 25, 26-year-old daughter or a son at FSU, Florida State University, or any other Florida university. And she or he is not married and doesn't have children yet. Okay. And something happens in a hospital and they kill your daughter or your son. You will never be able to access courts for justice, never get accountability. So yes, of course it affects Floridians, but it affects entire people of the United States, everybody. Okay, so that's what needs to be clear here about this. So Daryl, you actually warned Senator Harrell?
Oh, I sent her an email, I phoned, and I sent her a copy of the billboard before it went up and said, please do not speak or vote against the free kill law. They ignored that. And so I ran the board. It's simple. You had a choice. I had a choice. She had a choice.
Yes.
So
yes. And you did it. Very good. So
Now
you
we have a new billboard.
You have a new billboard that you warning Senator DeSantis. Okay. So
Tell us about that billboard before I post it.
yeah. So you can show it. Absolutely.
Okay.
This is the billboard that I've scheduled to go up this week. We have 7 days. And that is the choice that DeSantis, our governor, has. He can choose profit or he can choose people.
Yes.
He can sign the bill. He can let the bill become law on its own. And the people will be able to hold everyone in the healthcare industry accountable. The same way you hold your plumber or your restaurant or your painter or anybody else is held exactly to the same standards. The idea that the healthcare industry, if you don't have kids or don't have dependents, you're older and your children are older, you have no dependents, that's ridiculous. So
I will tell you, Daryl, what's really strange, because when I researched it is instead of Florida, you can hold your vet doctor accountable if he kills your dog. Okay.
Yeah.
Or if he kills your cat.
Right.
But if he kills your 25 or older son or daughter,
Nothing.
you cannot hold them accountable.
Right.
What kind of law is this?
Right. Well,
This is beyond words.
Yeah, and it's completely unconstitutional. As I said before, it doesn't prevent medical malpractice. It hides medical malpractice.
Yes.
Okay?
And it
Exactly.
attracts bad doctors to the state.
It's almost as if Florida has become the experimental lab for doctors that want to be able to try their little techniques. They know they can go to Florida. All you got to do is make sure you get the right patient to meet the criteria and practice.
Yeah, well, I live about 50 miles from the border of Georgia and Florida. If I had taken my son on Monday night to a hospital in Georgia, would he be alive?
Maybe he would be alive, and if they did this thing, you would have a recourse.
I don't know. I don't know, because they're not required to answer any questions. The painter who paints your house is more required to answer questions than a hospital, an insurance company, or a doctor who has someone's life in her hand.
Right.
Your car mechanic is held to a higher liability standard than the hospital or the doctor.
Right.
Well,
That is wrong.
It is.
it is. It is.
Thank you, Daryl, for joining us.
Yeah.
We're not going to stop talking about this. We're going to be watching situation. Of course, we want people to watch it with us. We would like for people of Florida and people of the United States who ever visit Florida or plan on visiting Florida, please call Governor's office, DeSantis' office. Do you have a number for him?
Yes, we want you to call Governor DeSantis and let him know that you do not want him vetoing just as
HB 6017.
Yes, and that phone number is 850-717-9337. Again, call and it'll be in the description for you below. You're asking the governor not to repeal HB 6017. The phone number is 850-717-9337. If they ask you if you're a Florida resident, you tell them I'm one of those $36 billion in your tax revenue tourists that come to your state, or my children go to college there, or maybe you even visit Daryl's barbecue place down there in St. Augustine
and support his business.
Yes.
And
so, the point is that you come here for a reason. And and your life matters. Your loved one's lives matter. Cameron's life mattered.
Yes.
Stefan Suto's life mattered.
Yes.
And these doctors that have done the heinous things that they have done need to be held to account, to be held accountable for what they did and the actions. And like Daryl said, in his case, he said, this is not a matter of money, but this is a matter of he needs answers. And they need to be accountable.
Yes.
And that's in every case. That's the same thing with Cindy, with Sabrina,
all the activists. Yes.
and every one of these activists. And there's many names. I don't remember all the names.
Yeah.
Who?
Jojo.
Yes, Jojo.
The disability. The people who are at risk are, for example, Dr. Mahaffey came spoke on one of the hearings.
They
and
cut
she-
her off 1 minute, 20 seconds into it, and
Yeah.
they slammed her down.
Yes, and she was speaking how personal it is to her. She has a 33-year-old son who is autistic. He's not married. Okay, he has no dependents. She takes care of him. He is autistic, 33 years old.
That was
If-
her second time she spoke.
Yeah, but if
by the way.
anything happened to Patrick,
There's no recourse.
she has no recourse. And guess what? She's a medical doctor and she never knew about this. She learned about this from me. Okay, so she came to speak and ask for this law to be repealed.
And the fact too, Dr. Mahaffey, she has been a family friend of ours. She's known my father-in-law. He actually would paint her house for her and
Mhm.
stuff. She's
Yeah.
known him for somewhat 25 years, I
Yes,
guess.
so she was
So-
shocked that we can't get any justice. And
So we
now
thank
it's
God
for
for
her
some
too.
doctors having the courage to stand up and require other doctors to be held accountable for their actions. Daryl,
Daryl, thank
we
you.
thank you. Thank your wife. I know the suffering your family
Yes.
is going through, and your lovely son Cameron. He's such a handsome boy there,
Yes.
and I know he'll never be forgotten. Never.
Never. Yes.
So
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for all you guys are doing. I know that heart will never heal.
I know.
That hole will never heal.
I know.
And we just try to keep going forward.
yes, thank you, Daryl.
I hope the people out there will never have to go through this.
Exactly.
Never. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And thank your
you.
wife
Thank
as
you
well.
guys for listening, and for Cameron's sake, for Stefan's sake, for so many others' sake, make that phone call to the Capitol. Talk to Governor DeSantis' office.
To repeal the free kill law.
Yeah, 850-717-9337. Again, HB 6017. You want him not to veto it, but to approve it.
Yes.
Stephen Iana Benoon with Israeli News Live. Thank you, Daryl, once again.
Thank you very much.